Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sketch to See. I'm really excited about this episode because I can finally discuss in detail how our entire yacht structurally comes together. And yes, this does include the extension, from how the hull was extended, the molds were made, and the entire vessel was put together. If you haven't already taken the time, I would really suggest stopping this video now and going back and watching construction updates 1 through 3, and that way you at least know exactly how we got to where we are right now. Those previous episodes detailed the 2 years that we've gone through thus far in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. It's a great way to go into the process and get an idea of the ups and downs and the incredible amount of detail that it takes to develop a project like this. If you've been following along on our Instagram and Facebook, you already have an idea of the different parts of the molds and the yacht building process that I'll be discussing throughout this episode. If you're not already following along, please join us on Instagram at Sketch2See and Facebook at Sketch2See as well. We were recently sent this great little illustration by the team over at HH Catamarans. It's an amazing diagram how they simply break down this incredibly complex process of building our yacht. I mean, check this diagram out. It's such a streamlined yet elegant way to itemize the process of how all of the structural elements will go together. And now this animation really brings this diagram to life. You can see layer by layer the intricate detail of all the elements that go into the boat and how they're all eventually going to come together to make our yacht. I mean, they even put water in the hot tub on the flybridge and showed the yacht with and without its full sail package assembled. I'm impressed. I personally find it a little comical that our entire yacht can be broken down and demonstrated as a puzzle on one page. They've managed to boil it down into basically the same type of instruction booklet that you'd get with a model. So I'm going to refer back to this leaflet several times throughout this video so you know exactly which parts that I'm talking about as I take you through the construction. HH Catamarans are at the absolute pinnacle of the full carbon custom catamaran game. So everything you're going to see over this episode is the absolute state-of-the-art, up-to-date in construction methods. If you've watched my previous episodes, you know that all of this starts with the racking of the molds. Then the plywood puzzles are CNC cut, then assembled within the racking that we've already made. Once the whole molds have been run through the CNC machine, proper release agent applied, then it's time for the carbon lamination process to begin. It's definitely not as simple as I'm making it out to be here, but I don't think anybody wants to listen to me drone on for a few hours about this process. So just to simplify it real quick, you take the molds, you lay down the carbon fabric, as many layers are structurally required at that section, then you put the core cell foam on top of it, then you put another layer of the carbon fabric on top, as many layers again as are structurally required, then you bag that whole thing and then infuse it with resin under vacuum. That's how we create the skins or the different hull sections or bulkhead sections of our entire vessel. This is where they come up with the name carbon foam sandwich construction. If you think about it, it's actually quite interesting because we're able to take these fabric rolls and turn them into one solid piece that's 88 feet long and almost 10 feet high laying on its side. And another thing I found quite interesting, there's a reason we built this hull mold section on its side, is because think of the weight of the resin that these vacuums have to pull through the hull mold. If you're pulling resin 8, 9, 10 feet in the air, it's super heavy. So in order to make sure that we have great pregnation of the carbon laminate itself, we tilted the molds on its side so we're not lifting the resin as high. So this vacuum infusion process has to be completed for every single piece of our yacht. I don't just mean the carbon exterior pieces, but the interior components, all the wood cabinetry, is veneer vacuum foam resin construction. It is worth noting that our hull pieces had to be made in 2 sections just so we didn't have to lift the resin as high. So we made an outboard section and an inboard section accordingly. The reason we had to do this construction this way is because we could not physically fit some of the main structural bulkheads if we made the whole mold in entirety. So we have to have the wing deck assembled, then on go the chamfer panels, then the interior hull skins at the same time. So now that you have a very brief understanding of how this process works, let me take you to where we are today. As you can see, at the very bottom is the hull jig. I mentioned a little bit about the hull jig in the last video, so again, if you haven't watched any of the previous construction updates, please go back and do that. But at the very bottom is the hull jig. The hull jig has now been bonded to the floor and it will sit here for the remainder of the construction process. Now we're starting to assemble parts on the hull jig. Here you can see the longitudinal structural girder, which joins to the wave splitter or forward wing deck in the front of the image. So remember in my first video I said that there's always different parts being made in different parts of the factory at any given time. In another one of these images you can see the bulkhead table just next to the hull jig. On this table, while people are fitting different parts onto the hull jig, there are different bulkheads being made. This includes the chamfer panels and some of the longitudinal stringers and various other parts of the yacht will all be constructed on these tables. So these chamfer panels bond the wing deck to the inner hull skins. And just please keep in mind that this entire vessel at 88 feet long will be built on this hull jig. As you can see in this image here, we've now bonded the inner hull skins, the chamfer panels, and the wing deck pieces. So I'm just going to refer back to that drawing again and show you exactly where we are. It'll finally no longer seem like a flat, almost 2D model as these large bulkheads and main structural bulkheads are installed. You'll get to see the height in a brand new dimension, and it'll really stand out when I start to point out some of the doors and access ways that are built into these main structural bulkheads. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked this episode or found it interesting, please like, subscribe, and share. A small click from you goes a long way for us. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, or you can reach out to me at sketch2see@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon.